I'm recording this webinar. So we will be able to send this out to all of you post webinar, so you can review or share with anybody else in your office if they want to have a deeper dive into the SEO features within the SOCi platform. So with that, Mike, I am going to turn it over to you and let you rock and roll.
Okay, great. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Let me start by sharing my screen as I'm talking. So what I'm going to start off with is going through really quick kind of the state of local SEO right now, and then through that go and show how that relates to the products you're using, how that relates to review management, and reputation, how that relates to social, how that relates to posts and everything. So I'm just setting up everything here. Can everyone see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see everything fine.
Okay, perfect. So wanted to start with the state of local SEO. I don't know, everyone's knowledge may be different here. But SEO is it's defined a bunch of different ways, but ultimately it's optimizing your listings, specifically Google My Business, local pages, reviews, everything in order to be obviously found highly within search. Local SEO is kind of a subset of that, where you're a little more locally based, and this is why we want to have you all on, because with local SEO specifically, it really is kind of an effort at a local level beyond just what we're doing at a higher level with setting up pages, setting up listings, getting all that managed. What you're doing at a local level is really important as well. So what you see here is two different ranking factors. So what Google does, they tell you how you should optimize. If you go onto Google's help sites, there's numbers of white pages and all sorts of things telling you exactly what you should do to help make sure that you're getting indexed correctly and showing up highly in search. What they don't do is tell you what to focus on. There are tons of things you could focus on. So what the SEO community does as a whole is every year or two we'll get together and do a local search ranking factor survey. They'll send surveys out to all the local SEOs. Some of them are actual Google product experts that are recognized by Google as experts on this. And they'll ask everyone, hey, of all the optimizations you've done for your customers, what do you see as working the best, as giving the biggest lift? And so that's what this is. This is all, they change every year. What you see on the left is local pack ranking factor. So that's when someone does a search and you get that little 3-pack that shows up that you can then click into and get the bigger list. And then there's the local organic ranking factor, which are the blue links below. They usually go to your pages.
So Mike, can I ask you really quick to maybe pop into a web browser just so they see a visual of when we say CPAC, what that is, and then the blue link that you're referring to as well.
Yes. So if I look up insurance provider near me, let's say, what you'll see is these little blue links up here. They're ads right now, but these blue links, I won't say those are organic because someone's paying for those, but that's paid organic if you hear that. And these links over here, and sorry, they're not showing up in the right direction. I have these little things to crawl these on the site, so it's moving things over. But these other links here, these are those blue organic links. That's what you see there. And then the local pack is this right here. This is what you find when you're doing any kind of search, especially when there's local intent. That's what triggers this, is Google is, when they see there's a local intent, this comes up. If you dig into it deeper, these are the three you want to, being in the top 3 is where you want to be because you're going to get more visibility. Although something that Google just rolled out in the last month or two is now these maps next to it used to be static. So you only got the 3 within there. And now you're actually starting to get some other pins within there that might not be in there, like this OIA. It's not within the top 3, but it's showing up there. So Google is really trying to expand on their search. And if you click into this more business, what you're getting is this other finder where you're getting the top 20 results in the area. I will say, if you ever see a difference between this, a lot of people call this Google Maps, and it's actually not, even though it has a map. It's considered Google Finder, where Google Maps, if you go to Google Maps and do a search, you get the map, but you get a slightly different experience over here. And one of the reasons, if you've ever wondered why that is, these teams are actually completely different for whatever reason. So sometimes you get features that you may see within your Google Finder versus Google Maps, and I'll actually show you some of that in a little bit. So again, those blue links are considered that local organic ranking factor, and the local pack are the other ones, that smaller areas. So I tend to focus on this just because if we're doing everything right here, if you'll notice, a lot of these same things are on both sides. So if you're doing everything right here, you're going to be doing the same there. So to go through a couple of these, this thing you see, GMB, that's Google My Business, which now has been changed to Google Business Profile. They've just updated that recently. You may hear me say the wrong thing. I need a little jar for every time I say it wrong so I can put a coin in. But your Google Business Signal, 36% of the overall ranking factor that Google uses there in their algorithm. What does that mean? 3 years ago, it was only 24%. Reviews below that used to be at 14% 3 years ago. One of the reasons that everyone kind of thinks it's going in this direction is Google is trying to add a social component to listings and search in general. And I'll go through what that means. But a lot of it is trying to bring in user-generated content within Google profiles onto those as part of the search results to help customers understand more about the businesses that they're being shown. So I'll go into this a little more. There's a lot of things, especially when you look at Google, the Google Business Profile, there's a ton of things around that. It says 36%, but what is it? Is it your categories? Is it your attributes? Is it your review? What is it? So they break this down even further into 20 of the top ranking factors. And I kind of look at this in 3 buckets. You have your top here, these top 4, which obviously got the largest number of votes. That's why they're the highest. Your primary business category, because Google is looking at that first and foremost when they serve you up. Keywords within your business title. You can't do a ton of that. It's basically what the name of your business is. You may have some modifiers. You may talk about, insurance in your title, which is always great because obviously that kind of validates maybe your primary category. But those are always things you want to look at of what is your major point of business and where do you think you're getting that most traffic. Below that is this proximity. So where the person doing the search is and where you are, nothing you can actually control. And this is where the whole search, the optimization comes in, is how do you optimize around that? Because if everything was strictly distance-based, it's just going to be whoever's closest. And Google does put a lot of emphasis on that. So it's just something to think about. Another thing, when you go into this next section here, about 5 through 13, a lot of this is around just additional optimizations and then reviews. So I'll talk about some of this additional GMB categories. So if you're doing multiple things, you want to look and see, okay, what else is related to that? I can actually provide, because I think, every individual might have different services. So there may be something that someone does that someone else doesn't. One of the great ways to do this is look at competitors and see what they're doing and what sort of categories they're doing. And honestly, if there's any questions, I tend to look at this for our customers every few months, give out recommendations, things like that. So it's always something good to look at.
So Mike, I'm going to interject for just 1 second. Yes. So for those of you on the call, some of those things that you might consider is, I know there are a bunch of you that also do financial planning, handle tax preparation and things like that. So when we talk about additional GMB categories, those are the types of things that you may want to include in that section within Google My Business. And luckily, because you're using the SOCi platform, there's a spot there that you can actually update that information as well.
Correct. And what I can do actually after this is pull up some related categories that I see, and I'll add this to the end of this presentation. So there's some suggestions I can put in here for everybody,
that would be great,
if they're applicable. So I'll add that as well. One thing you'll see in here come up a lot, and I'm going to talk about this a bit in depth, is reviews. This comes up a lot. Google does look at the ratings that you're getting. They look at the keywords, which I'll explain in a little bit, and then the quantity. So Google is really looking to see, are people talking about your business? Because if people are talking about your business, it means they're potentially going, they understand, they start to figure out what your business is about beyond what you've put on your profile, beyond what's on your web page, your local page. They also find out a lot about you through your customers, because they figure that's the best way to validate anything you're saying. And if they're able to validate that, they look at that as even more, a reliable source. So they're going to prioritize you a little more. And one of the reasons one of the ways we know they're trying to figure out what you're doing is if you've looked at and dug into any reviews, whether it's your own, whether it's any business, you'll notice they have these little buttons here. These are considered featured keywords, is what Google calls them. And what they are, beyond just sorting out maybe a bunch of reviews that relate to those things, is that they actually directly affect your SEO ranking, which is one of the reasons you want to have a volume of reviews. These really don't start appearing until you get into the 30, 40, 50 review range, because Google needs those reviews to start finding commonalities within that. One other thing that Google is doing as well, you might not see it, it's very small here, but they're also taking a sentiment out of that. If you'll see something on here, it says positive, professionalism, and responsiveness. So they're actually going in and looking at the sentiment of these reviews, and besides pulling out keywords, looking at, what the interaction is like. So I'll explain how that works in a minute. But just a couple other things kind of towards the bottom here. There's about 8 of these other attributes are directly around your local landing page. So your website, your local website. So these are things, as we're building pages and working with you on this, that we're looking at all these things that are building pages to make sure that there's good internal linking, that there's, we want to make sure your, where you are and all that, your geographic relevance, all these kinds of things, keywords on your pages are things that help also influence that. So that's nothing that, again, kind of looking at overall pages, but what I'm going to focus on are those things that you as individuals can go and affect now. So this is why I'm starting with reviews. This is something that you obviously can't affect how many people are giving you reviews or what they're saying or what they're doing, but by responding and by encouraging people to leave feedback, I want to kind of show the importance of doing that. So how do we know that these keywords that are coming out are relevant SEO ranking factors? I took a listing for Gary Thacker Insurance here, looked at rate. So I wanted to try and find something that's not something you can add as an attribute or put on your page where it's a service, but something that's a little more ephemeral, something that you can't, say that you do. So, and that Google will rank you for. So rate seems something really good. So I looked at best rate insurance versus just insurance. And what do I find? Because there's rate there, there's more reviews, is that best rate insurance, I'm getting a number 1, where just insurance near me, near this area, is getting a number 3. So we're seeing that those actually boost your rating. This location jumped up above acceptance insurance, and then this Nordlit one dropped out. So this is how we can see and prove that these keywords are doing something. Beyond that, you might notice right here, there's this little snippet of text as best rate and coverage in town, which is great, because beyond seeing these results in you being number 1, is that right away you have some sort of validation that where some customer has gone in and said, hey, no, this is great. Which is why when surveyed, the SEO community also looked at reviews and at least pieces of those reviews as 5 of the top 10 conversion factors. Again, high numerical ratings, sentiment. But think about when you're doing your own searches. I'm remodeling my house. I'm looking for lots of services. So I'm going out and I'm looking, and I'm looking for someone who not only has a high rating, not only positive sentiment, but you get bad reviews. Again, you can't please everybody all the time. So the presence of that response from an owner going in and saying, hey, we're taking care of that, and seeing that you're being very responsive and giving a thoughtful response, you can tend to mute those and put those aside in favor of the good reviews. And at the same time, what it does is if someone's had a good experience, it'll hopefully prompt them to leave a review. So my wife, she doesn't leave a lot of reviews, but when she does, it's always the businesses that are responding, because she wants to make sure that the people that gave her a good experience are getting the credit they deserve. So she'll leave that review. So you may get more reviews, and typically you get more reviews just by responding. So it's a way to help push that forward.
And I'd like to add to Mike's comment there really quick on when we talk about people who leave you negative reviews. I know everybody might be a little, oh my God, somebody left me some negative feedback. The great opportunity with the SOCi platform is you're able to be alerted of those types of reviews sooner and can respond to them in real time. So it can negate any further negative activity or consequences from other customers who may be looking for you and see that. And it gives you and your team an opportunity to address that negative feedback right away to try and resolve the issue. And I bring this up to all of you guys because, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, 33%? 33% of customers who have had a negative experience with a company have reversed their initial reviews once they have been responded to by that organization and an action has been taken. So, it really is, it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing, but giving you guys the opportunity to respond to it real time and taking charge of those negative experiences and integrating it into how you I guess maybe protect yourself from those types of responses or engagements moving in the future, but also letting the customer know that you truly do care about them, and it shows other customers who are potentially looking at you that, hey, these guys got on it, responded right away to address the concerns of this customer. Those are the types of companies that I want to work for, because I feel better knowing that if something does go wrong, they're going to be, on their toes with trying to either correct it or make that situation better. Now, we all know that can't happen in every single situation, but if you can grab a majority of those negative instances and turn it into a positive, then it just reflects much better on you and your agency.
I will add as well, I think from a recent report, we had 87% of reviewers will change a negative review depending on how the business responds. So about 9 out of 10. So
going to the next step, why do we want good text? Why do we want them to change that? I showed that little snippet that showed up before. If Google is doing something where they're trying to create a justification on why they're serving something up. So if you're asking for something, especially if it's a long-tailed search, if someone's just looking up insurance near me, they might not get much. But if they're looking, again, this is that same best rate on insurance. What you're getting beyond just that little snippet that I showed is actually even more reviews and more text that's showing up when you click into that business listing. And this is all showing up even above the business information. So Google is trying to prioritize and make this front and center. So when a customer is looking to make a decision, they're getting all this information right up front before they're even going, okay, now where are they at? So this is really great. And so here's another one where this is the one directly below this Norblit. It says they provide business insurance. Okay, great. You click into it. They only have 44 reviews. Obviously no one's really talked about that within there. So you're not getting anything else. You're actually even getting some empty parking lot photos. It's not really something that looks very clickable. So these kind of things actually helps improve the clickability of your listings. And as I said, it's something called a business justification or local search justification. It is not just limited to reviews. So again, reviews, you can't really control what your customers, clients may be saying, but certain other things you can influence. So, there's information coming from your business website. So that's one of the things as we're setting things up, we want to make sure we're looking at attributes and things that, you're doing so they can link to that. GMB service attributes, which we'll talk about a little bit, Google Posts, Google Q&A are things that you can really directly kind of affect or at least influence how you're showing up within Google. So again, you can see these bunch of different things. Here's a little check mark. That's something coming from services, service attributes. This little globe icon is from a website. There's a little exclamation point, which is from a post. So they're coming from lots of different places.
Hey, Mike, before you move on to the next part really quick, one of the attendees posted something about they use a third-party organization to filter out negative reviews from being posted. Is there anything within the Google algorithm that takes that type of action into consideration when it's looking at reviews as a whole and ranking?
Gotcha. Unfortunately, they don't. They look at it as, they want to give a full unfiltered view into that. In fact, was it the Trade Commission, FTC, I think, just actually sued a couple companies who do filter reviews out because they feel that customers should get an unfiltered, picture of a company. It's not what businesses want to hear because, most of the time things are valid, but you also get things that aren't, and you get people that do certain things. And all you can really do is pay attention to your reviews. If you feel things are out of bounds, if you feel things, aren't directly related to your services, or maybe you get an ex-employee who's doing something, that's where we can jump in and we can go and help escalate that with Google. Yes, you can flag something on your end, but we can also help with that.
Okay.
Sometimes it's really hard, and it goes through some things, but I've found, sometimes like 50% of the time, even more, if you can really show that it's not related to your services and it's something that's something outside of that, you can typically, put in a request, flag it, and a lot of the times get them removed. Any?
Mike, did you see the follow-up question from Roger in the chat?
I didn't. I'm sorry, because I'm sharing. I'm not seeing everything.
Yeah, it's okay. And you know what, Roger, I'll address that one offline when we're done with the webinar. I'll have an opportunity to speak with SOCi about it. But just more reviews. The more reviews you have,
yes,
the better off you are in not only improving your visibility, but also increasing your local search results and your rankings within the Google platform. So the high level answer to that, Roger, is yes, you're okay. You have lots of reviews. Then the next thing is we'll dig into it a little bit more with Mike and find out, do you need to allow some other ones to filter through so everything seems a little more balanced? I'll get back to you on that one.
All right, so talking about local search justification. So this is kind of that other way where you can control the narrative a little more, especially if you're really thinking about how your potential customers are searching for you. And if you are creating posts, if you're creating service attributes, if you're answering questions in a way that really relates to that, then you have a higher chance of tripping these. And they're really great. So here's a couple instances of ways that these are showing up. So this is one where this is a post-based one. So I found actually my Michael Snow agency. This came up. I had to use it for obvious reasons. So commercial auto insurance. I looked that up specifically just because I knew there were some posts about it. So I wanted to just trigger this to show how this works. So what's happening is someone's looking for commercial auto insurance. It's triggering a post that's directly related to that. And it's actually anything where it's seeing commercial auto, you see that there, insurance policy. So it's seeing insurance, commercial auto. It's pulling those out and creating this related to your search bit.
And are those are coming directly from this agency's social channels, correct?
Correct. It's coming directly from any posts that are on Google. So these are specific to Google posts.
Okay.
So this is something, when thinking about Google posts, I'll go a little more detail on this. This is something a little different than, let's say, you would do on your social channels. On your social channels, you're trying to get a different type of engagement. You're trying to get your customers involved in a conversation, let's say, or take action, whatever that might be. Any Google My Business post really is about taking action. It's really about trying to just get information that's going to get them to go, oh, and click and do something more. One of the things that you'll note when you're posting these and creating copy, you want to think about how someone is going to search for you, because that's really going to trigger it. I've seen a lot of posts that people come out with like, hey, it's holiday season, great time to come and check us out, or something like that. But that doesn't really have any keywords about you or what you're looking to do that would allow this to trigger. So, if you're talking about a specific type of insurance, if you're talking about really just anything, whatever you're trying to get someone to know about. So again, I like to think of this as utilizing it in a way that highlights your services, maybe any discounts you have, any communities that you're trying to serve. I'll show something on that in a second. but as you'll see here, not only is this showing up right here, but if someone clicks into your listing on their mobile, on their cell phone, mobile phone, whatever, it's showing up very prominently right there as well. So this is just a good way to try and control a narrative around that. Also, one of the things that comes up and related to your search is Q&A. So I actually, within the insurance industry, I didn't find many Q&A. Well, I found a lot of questions, but to trigger these, there also needs to be an answer. And not only is there might be some Q&A within the insurance industry, within the listings, I found almost no answers that at least was related to a service or something that would trigger it. So this was a really good example I found a while ago that was based on a long tail search where I was looking for, I saw that they had a Q&A about military discounts. So I looked for something like children activity with military discounts. I tried to think of what a customer might look for that would include that. And it brought this up where you're getting this little related to your search. They offer a military discount, yes. And then it's also bringing in, trying to bring in some reviews because it's trying to figure out what you're actually asking. So it's, hey, we had a lot of fun. But it's also, again, showing really prominently within your listing. I will say right now within our tool, you can answer any question. I think it's through conversations, right, Stefan? I know you've said it a couple times.
Yep. Yeah, Q&As can be answered through the conversations tab on the left-hand side there. So
I would
also where all social engagements will come through. So you'll see your Facebook comments, mentions, things like that in there, but Google Q&A will be in there.
So we'll talk about how and where that is, but I wanted to just kind of bring up that right now I would say definitely answer any questions that are out there, because that's another thing. Some people use Q&A as a way to give a bad review sometimes, or just answering really dumb questions. I will say they are super easy to flag. I'll actually even show you, I don't even know who this, I'm not going to get rid of it on them, but I can really flag any question. Here we go. There's just a question, even if it's answered or not. You can basically go in here and report, and you can do, if it doesn't apply, incorrect information. And as soon as you hit that, it pretty much disappears. It's not as heavily monitored as like removing a review if it really is not a question or it's something that's out of line or the answer's wrong. It's always good to look at those. You do have the ability, just clicking into any listing, to seed your own questions. So if you want to utilize that, like, hey, do you provide X insurance, whatever that insurance is? Do you provide this service? I would recommend going in and adding those questions and then going back in and answering them. I believe by the end of the year, we'll also have the ability to just do that through our dashboard. I think it's in our product roadmap, but the API was just opened up within the last year and a half, I think, or so with Google, and they've been updating it. So it's been just a process to get to that next step of seeding. But because you're all, I'm assuming, managing a single location, it's really easy to go in, add questions, and then you can think about how you could prompt those. I think it's super valuable. And again, it's just another way to answer questions before someone even asks them, to hopefully get them to that next step. Well, I don't need to look at anyone else. They've answered all my questions without me even having to take that next step. One of the things I will say, if you're not looking at some of these things, they can, again, we talked a little bit about that sentiment and bad reviews. Things can go the wrong way, which is one of those reasons you want to pay attention to this stuff. And you can utilize posts and things like that to mute some of this. Here's an interesting one where I was looking for, trying to trigger a post, and it was about spring break activities. I'm trying to trigger like a kids center, and they have this great post, but down here, all the reviews that are coming up are kind of negative. So they need to kind of work on either maybe not promoting that or changing that context on there. This is another one. This is actually one of the worst ones I've seen, where Google isn't looking for a bad sentiment, but if they can't find anything else, they're looking for whatever's related. So this is one where you're getting a bad review. We need regular cleanup in the men's locker room. There's a question about why is the shower allowed to be so old and dirty. This is something that should be flagged and gotten rid of, because it's more of a review question. It's not a legitimate question. And then it's just, compounding here. So this is one of those reasons that, Google Q&A especially is something that so few businesses are paying attention to or looking at. There's a lot of opportunity for finding leads within there. Some people might go in there and ask questions, especially because Google, if you go to any of them, it'll say, the community usually answers within 20 minutes. I don't know where they get that from, because I find most of them go unanswered, but it is something to do. I will say one other piece of this is just new within the last month and a half, is within Google Maps, they are now showing posts and Q&A very prominently without justification. So if you just go click into anything, you're getting, if there's a post owner is coming up, it's from the owner, you're getting a Q&A, whatever that might be. And if let's say a customer posts a photo and some text, that's actually showing up right under from the owner. So if you don't have a post, potentially theirs could be the very first message you see. And I'll show you this really quick. If I click on any listing really here, let me just, I'll look at, now again, this is only coming up in Google Maps, and this is, I think earlier I mentioned that the Google Maps team and the Google Finder team are different. So this is specifically in Google Maps, and if I just click on any listing, what you're seeing here, they don't have anything, and it actually says here, you know, community will answer within 20 minutes. Let me see if I can find one real quick that has, well, you know, it's giving me trouble right now, so we're not going to do that. You get the idea. I have an example here, so you can play around within Google Maps and see this, but this is one of the ways where this stuff is showing very prominently now. So you should always have some sort of post up and be looking at your questions, especially if you're more in this direction.
And Mike, those posts are posts being made to your Google My Business profile.
Correct.
Page listing,
Correct.
whatever word we want to use, right?
Correct.
Okay, so for everybody on the call, if you're using the SOCi platform, Joe and I are creating posts for you Tuesdays and Thursdays if you've got your GMB account linked that are being posted to your GMB account. So hopefully that shouldn't be an issue for you, because you should have a post that looks like it's coming from you that should show up in this spot.
So just a couple other things to think about. Services as justification. So this is one other thing that you may think about adding. You can add this within the SOCi platform as well, are different services. So the services show up within a listing. Oh, I actually put that down. That's the service Long Beach. Sorry, that should be above one. I'll fix that. But these services, vehicle insurance, general liability, there's a list that you're only seeing this in mobile. You won't see this on desktop at all. But within mobile, you're seeing, as you click into it, it has this whole list of, you know, different services that you can be providing. And Google is showing that little check mark we saw. So I looked at insurance consultation specifically just to see if I can get that come up. And insurance consultation, and it's coming up as provides insurance consultation. Not necessarily, I will say the posts, the Q&A, these services, they're not considered ranking factors in the way that your review text is. And I will say also to clarify, when I talk about review text, I'm talking about the text the customer leaves. What you're responding with isn't a factor, otherwise everyone would spam their answers. So just note that you don't have to try and repeat the same thing back, be very natural. But these others, although they're not ranking factors, they are, as you see, very much conversion factors, because they're letting people know that you have these things. Now, one other thing in services, well, attributes that is a ranking factor. As you see, I put in here, insurance consultation, veteran owned. You may have seen these from the business identified as Black owned, Latino owned, veteran owned, women owned, crowd, these LBGT friendly, transgender safe space. These have become ranking factors in a way that where Google ranking in that Google will portion these off in the results, let's say. So if you're looking for, you know, an insurance agency near me, you'll get whoever. But if you're looking for, I pulled this one up, identified as a veteran-owned agency. So this is coming up, and there's a little badge that you'll see on some of the listings. So these things, if any of these attributes apply to you, I would recommend adding them, because sometimes you see, like on Women's Day, if you go to the Google main page, it'll say do a woman-based search, you know, female-based search. Things like that come up, and they absolutely will change the results. So if you're not utilizing them, you're not going to come up in those searches. If you can utilize them, you should utilize them so you do show up in those searches. So wanted to throw that out there. That's all I have. I'm not going to go into really much else, but I did put kind of a list of those things that we talked about and kind of the high-low impact here. So the highest impact you're getting is responding to reviews, adding attributes in those, Google Posts, Q&A. And actually these services in Google Posts are around the same because they're all those justifications. But I would say these two top ones are very much related to your SEO and your search rankings. So definitely look at that, but just wanted to give put this all in one tab so you can know what to focus on. So I went through a lot. I will stop there. Were there any questions that I missed? New questions, things that you want me to go over a little
No,
more?
I don't see any in the chat, so I'll just put this out to the group. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and post them in the chat now. Otherwise, Mike, I think you're going to move into the actual SOCi platform to show us where our agents can log in and update some of that information if they would like to.
And I'll hand that to you, Stefan, because I don't know that.
Okay. All right, over to Stefan.
I don't use it on a day-to-day.
So one moment here, I'll just pull it up. All right. Lonnie, I could probably use yours, right?
Yeah, that should be fine.
All right, so that'll work. No, 1 second, let me pull up that. There we go. Okay. All right, you guys see on my screen?
Yes.
Coterie? Yep. Okay, perfect. So we'll go through a couple of things here, right? First thing we'll go to listings information. Important to note here on the overview dashboard, this will show you your profile completeness. Over on the right-hand side, required fields, basic fields, advanced, and bonus. If you're ever at a loss as to which fields these are, the little I information icon next to these, you can click on that and you'll see those populate. So you'll see under required fields, listings, name, phone, address, primary category, and then basic, all these. Advanced fields, keywords, payment forms, price range, and bonus, email, brands, languages. To edit your location, and actually I'll highlight this here as well, right? So these are all the various directories and then some. We push out to like 200 plus different directories, I think, something like that, as it, some direct and then some kind of waterfall down, right? So to ensure that your listings are accurate across the entirety of the web. So whenever you're on this overview page to access your listing information, just scroll down, you'll click on your location. This will open it up to your, your home page for your profile. As you can see on this page here, address, listings name, any internal name, naming convention that you had. You'll find city, country, state, all the address information, latitude, longitude. Some important things to call out that Mike had mentioned here as well, you'll find on the right-hand side. So the long description and short description fields, these are going to be your, basic fields, basically. So there you go. As well as the other things that he had mentioned, services. This is where you'll update services. For you guys especially, right? The recommendations around that, and some of you have done it well, some haven't filled it in, but it's things like, just put it in small business insurance, right? Put that in auto insurance. Basically anything that you offer a service for, I would put into the services category.
Stefan, I'm going to hop in 1 second. So
yeah.
Shame on me for not completing our profile as the demo account, but I just want to highlight for everybody on the call, just putting in auto or home doesn't really do you guys a whole lot of good when we're talking about this. So the longer you can make those phrases or words like, homeowners insurance, small commercial business insurance, recreational vehicle insurance, those types of things are going to suit you much better for your local search results and things like that. So think longer words better, shorter words bad, because if you say auto mechanic, auto dealer, like auto what? So try to be a little bit more specific in the words that you're choosing for these two sections in particular.
And one thing to note really quick on services, Google sometimes is really bad about, they suggest, they crawl your site, they crawl reviews, and they try and recommend services. Sometimes they make no sense. Sometimes it overwrites what we do. So even if you may already have services within your individual listings, I would make sure that they're repeated here so that if Google overrides those, we're pushing them out again. They just have a tendency to do that.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And we are kind of the, as the listings provider for you guys, are the source of truth. So we'll always push this out, squash duplicates, all that fun stuff. So, so yeah, as I said, with services, as much as you want in there, any service that you offer, payment forms, I would go in. I mean, these are all relevant, but it's as simple as coming in, American Express, Discover, Google Pay, Apple Pay, if you do accept that, via whatever point of sale system that you have, as well as some of the others. I was told I couldn't highlight it, but I know. So Bill Quickle, I saw you on here. You have a great profile for a lot of this stuff. And so I take a lot of learnings from that, from the insurance area. So as it pertains to brands, I mean, you guys aren't just selling, it's not just Coterie. So if it's Allstate, State Farm, this, that, whatever it might be, any brands that you represent, I would put those in here as well. So yeah, if it was the Allstates of the world, State Farm, what?
Yeah, I was just going to add these brands, and as you see up there, keywords, they don't necessarily show up within Google. These are for other smaller directories that use these. So they're not, they're good to have in there for those smaller directories, but they're not going to have a big lift on the Google, Facebook, that kind of side, just FYI.
Gotcha. So yeah, important to note. And then you'll see here at the bottom as well, if you're multilingual, English, Spanish, whatever that might be sure to put that in here. As well as you'll see all the links to your social networks that you can input on this page as well. Also note that your opening status will be on this first page here as well. So temporarily closed, permanently closed, as well as if you are coming open at a certain date, or if you're closed down for a certain time and you intend to reopen at a certain time, you can always set a reopen date.
Also, I believe, am I wrong in saying that's also like the opening, like the business opened date? So even if it, like, you opened 10 years ago, the date, you can put that in there and you'll see like you've been in business since whatever date.
Yep, you can do that.
And sure. Google does show that. So that is something that if you know it, definitely add it. It's always good. Yeah, people like, especially if you've been around for a while, people like to see that. So
I need to silence my Slack. So as we're looking in here, paging over real quick, to working hours, so the hours field. So over here on the left hand side, these will be all opening hours for your business. So you can set this, you can toggle some on off, you can toggle straight to weekdays, all days, whatever it might be, and that'll populate for all those days.
Right. And I just want to make a quick distinction that this is separate from the hours that you guys have posted on your local pages. So these two are independent of each other, just so you guys all know that.
Yeah. So if there are updates to hours for those local, I mean, if you are updating regular business hours, please do, I believe, let Lonnie know, show us know, and then we can update those local pages so that the website is reflected accurately with your business listing information. I do believe that we are hoping to have a rollout here in the next quarter. I think I can never promise anything with product, but to have this listings information actually just automatically push out to those local website pages for you guys. So, but we'll let you know when that happens. Something else so important to note on the hours tab here as well, any special dates that you have upcoming. I think most of you probably work Monday through Friday. But if there are things like such as Memorial Day upcoming, Easter Sunday, things like that, you can always come in here, add those dates, put if you're open or closed, toggle these off if you'd like. We'll always give recommendations for major holidays. Or if you would like as well, you can add your own special dates if you knew that you're upcoming, maybe you're on vacation, whatever that might be. You can set those specific dates. If you're open or closed, right? This is closed toggled. And if you're open or had modified hours, you could input those in here as well. Okay. Sorry, I was just looking at the comments. Other things. So as Michael had mentioned earlier as well, a couple of things. You have to have a primary category in for your Google business profile, but some additional categories. And I believe I've seen this as well, Mike, and correct me if I'm wrong. I believe you can put auto insurance and things like that on here as well for additional categories, or
It won't show up. They need to be the same as are available. And I think if you click in there, it'll actually only autofill if it's something that's available. So yeah, there's actually a list here. So you can actually, yeah, exactly. This is the best, even better than my list that I could put together is just going in here and hitting insurance. Yeah, it'll start to give suggestions.
So, okay, Roger, Stefan, can you walk the group through again how you get to this area? And I'll say this to everybody on the call. This is one of those key areas that you definitely want to take a moment to go in and double check. I think, Mike and Stefan, you have your primary category, and then in that secondary category field, you can add up to 9 more categories. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
and as we saw in that presentation, that was the number 5 ranking factor.
Yeah.
Is additional categories. So anything that is related in any way, I would absolutely add it.
Yeah. So quick click through here. If you're at the home screen when you log in, this is what you'll see typically. Well, pretty much always, unless you haven't linked networks, which, by the way, link your networks if you do have those. Any and all that you do have. That's a little plug for Lonnie. So you come down to listings on the left-hand side. You can simply click on that. You're at the overview page here. You just scroll down. You'll see your location and click on your location.
And Stefan, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you X out of this really quick and scroll up on the page, that pencil icon in the top right corner, that will bring you to the same spot, correct?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, so you should be able to access that pencil icon on most of the pages on here. So
yeah, so if you're on the home page, you can do it. Yep. So there's a couple different ways to do it. Yeah. And thanks for the reminder. Yep. So you've got it. But yeah, as I was, the one thing you'll see things in here that I have access to that you probably don't, because I'm a super admin. Let's see here. So clicking back in here, I did want to pick up, so profile, main profile, hours tab, categories and attributes. Once again, turn that up. The additional categories, you can add up to 9 additional categories. That's the 5th highest weighted ranking factor as it pertains to SEO. So I would go in here, insurance agency, home insurance, health insurance, like dental, any of this stuff, auto insurance, life insurance, anything that you might have in here. I think I've even seen on some of your profiles, notaries. You can put in notary here as well. I'm pretty sure. Let me just double check. Yep, public notary, you can put in as well. So I would give that a look through, very highly weighted factors.
and so I want to tag in there really quick, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, but so you get a total of 10. And if there are specific services that you want to rank for better, maybe put those in that category bucket over, I'll say, a lesser utilized service that you guys may offer. Am I saying that the right way, you guys?
Yeah. And there's also something you can do if you're looking and you're getting down to those, like, oh, I have all of them, I could go over 10, is if you look up something called Google Trends, it's actually something where you can put in both of those categories and see which people are searching more. Actually, let me find the link. I'll drop it in the chat.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
Awesome. So as you had mentioned earlier, attributes, so kind of amenities from the business. You'll see it here very popular during COVID times, but it's still kind of COVID times, right? But coming out of that, but if you have anything around health and safety, or what Google would call health and safety, you can toggle that on and off within here as well. So once again, in categories and attributes. And then as we scroll down here as well, gender neutral restrooms, the other things such as, Black owned, Latino owned, veteran owned, women owned businesses. This is where you can come in, toggle this on and off. And this will push out to Google. Service options, if you do have appointments, for most of you, it's on-site services. If you're meeting, in your office, so on and so forth, make sure to toggle that on. And then accessibility at the very end here. So if you have wheelchair accessible primarily at your location. Any questions?
Nope, I don't see any.
Okay. So in here as well, I mean, there's a few custom fields that you do have editable access to. This stuff really isn't pushing out to Google, but you can put in here for your own records as well. This would be more, I'd say, in relation to, you can utilize dynamic text with these custom fields, but that's something for another day that we can get into with that. We won't go into approvals. And last, but definitely not least, the images for your directories. So you have the option of uploading a profile picture, cover photo, and photos to push out to all directories. But I would recommend at the bare minimum, Google Business Profile. Correcting myself. So Google Business Profile and Facebook to come in and upload both Facebook profile pictures and cover photos if you do have those for your business. But with that, that's about it for the listings information. Real quick here as well, I did want to cover. So once again, if we're at the home screen, if you want those Google Q&As, you can come into your conversations in here, click on engagements. This will pull up all the engagements. So an engagement is any type of social engagement. So it could be Facebook direct messages, comments, mentions. But this is also where you're going to find Google Q&As, and they will populate in here. But you can also filter down. So the filter tabs it here and filter to Google Q&As. And typically, if you had them, you would see them populate here, and you could answer them, and we would push out for you.
Yeah, and you probably, when you first go in here for Q&A anyway, usually for reviews, you don't need to go back more than a month to respond to those. For
Sure.
Q&A, I would go and look at all the Q&A you have. It's probably not a lot. Most businesses don't have more than a handful. So I would expand that last 30 days to open it up and look at all the Q&A that you may have.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And then I could go over reviews really quick as well. So, once again, I mean, SOCi is a pretty intuitive platform, easy to, user interface. To get into your reviews, simply click on the reviews tab. This will bring you to your insights. It'll show you reviews by source, sentiment, over time, and you can toggle the time frame up here at the top for all your reviews. Any outstanding reviews are always going to populate at the very bottom right here, or you simply click on your inbox, so right below, and you will be able to see any reviews that are in your inbox. Once you've actually responded to those, you responded, sent that off, that'll be taken out of your inbox. If they're pending or in your out, then you'll see them populate in the respective tabs here as well. And then you can always see historically all reviews that you had coming in.
Yeah, and you can see in this one, paid responded to this second review. This first one is apparently garbage, so we're just leaving that one alone. But you can at least see when it was responded to, and that'll help you guys keep track too of knowing what's been responded to and what has not.
Yep. And mind you too, that kind of spam review that's in here, you can always flag those with Google and Facebook and get those removed. So unless maybe they left you a 5-star review, I don't know. So.
Yeah, you know what? I've actually seen this exact same post in other agents' accounts when I've gone to look.
Yeah.
So someone's just been spamming.
Yeah.
But we've got like 3 minutes left, so I just want to ask the group if you guys have any other questions that you would like to ask Mike and or Stefan in the chat. If not, I just want to thank all of you guys for joining today. We will make this recording available and I will email it out to all of you so you at least have it. And then if you've got questions after noodling this over some more, or you think about something over the weekend, please feel free to send me and or Joe an email. Joe, if you could drop that email in the chat for me really quick, I would appreciate it. And then other than that, I really appreciate everybody's time today. I hope you found this information useful. I hope you can understand how doing these things can impact your business, the visibility of your business, and overall how you can improve your lead generation by tackling some of these, what I'll call minor things. I know it probably seems like a lot, but you know, the SOCi platform is here to help you guys navigate through that process and make those things a lot easier, so we can really start boosting that organic traffic that you know, finds their way to you guys, and you know, opens up those phone calls and those inquiries. Hold on, Jeremy asked a question. Jeremy said, you mentioned you can escalate with Google. Can you escalate with Facebook? Our long lost admin account for the agency Facebook page has been locked for a few years. Ooh.
Yeah, I'd have to find it. Facebook makes it difficult to do direct kind of disputes. I know with that, especially as it pertains to like admin stuff.
So this is a really good example of why you should have more than one admin on your Facebook business page, and it goes for any social account that you all have. So Jeremy, we will see if we can find an answer for you. I don't think it's going to be an easy answer.
Here, here, I have a link right here. I'm going to throw it up in the chat. This is a link for a direct escalation, or I forgot, direct support information. So go ahead and give that a try. But yeah, Facebook's notorious for taking their time with these things. GMB, not so much. GMB is pretty great in terms of turning things around. So yeah.
Okay.
So.
All right. So with that, we are at time. So Stefan, Mike, thank you so much. Great information. I really appreciate both of your times today. Everybody else on the call, I'm so glad that you could make it. Again, if you have questions, please feel free to email Joe or myself, and I will just pop those emails in here really quick because I don't see them. It would help if I actually knew what my email address was and typed it properly.
You're good, Lonnie. I put them in there.
Oh, you did? Okay. Sorry, it wasn't popping up for me. So thank you, Joe. All right. Well, I hope you guys all have a really good week, and I just want to thank you all again. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.